What's up, guys? I'm coming to you this morning honest, open, and transparent. Sometimes God calls you to do things that you don't want to do, right? And that's where I am this morning. This morning, I feel like God is calling me into a 3-day fast, right? 3 days, no food, just water. And if I'm honest, there's not an ounce of me that wants to do it. Even though I've fasted many times, even though I know the spiritual power of fasting, I know that I will hear God more clear. I know that His word will open up. I know that life will slow down. My thoughts will be clearer. My speech will be slower. My reactions will be slower, right? I know all of these spiritual blessings of fasting, and yet when He calls me into this, the only thing I can think about is how difficult it's going to be for my flesh. I can only think about how hungry I'm going to be, how eventually weak I'm going to become, how my stomach's going to be growling. I know there's going to be temptations of food for free being offered to me around every corner. That's just how it is, because the devil wants nothing more than my stomach to be full, because he knows that a full stomach makes it harder to hear God. And you probably think I sound extreme by saying that, but all you would have to do is try sincerely fasting one time and you'll know what I'm talking about. But why is it when God calls us into these difficult situations, the only thing we think about is the consequences of the flesh and not the blessings of the Spirit? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, the reason why the title of this video is Nevertheless is because nevertheless is the mindset that you must have if you're going to follow Jesus. Nevertheless. Go to the garden before the cross. Jesus is praying to the Father, and He says, Lord, if there's any way that this cup can pass from me, right? He knows what is up ahead. He knows that the cross is going to be painful, that it's going to be difficult, that it's going to ultimately lead to His death and sacrifice. And He's like, if there's any other way, let's do that. Let this cup pass. But then He says, nevertheless, your will be done. Never will your will be less important than my desires. And that's the mindset that you have to have if you're going to follow Jesus. Because think about it. What does Jesus go and tell His disciples after He prays that prayer? He finds them sleeping for the third time. And what does He say to them? He wakes them up and He says, this flesh is weak, right? Because Jesus put on the flesh. The Word became flesh, and He experienced the temptations. He experienced the trials. And in the garden there, He experienced the absolute weakness of the flesh and how it will do everything it can to try to deliver itself from suffering. But He says this flesh is weak, but the Spirit is willing. And that's why Jesus, as you read through the gospel, when He calls people to follow Him, He says, if any man wants to come after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross daily, and follow me. That's what denying yourself is there are times that you're going to have to deny yourself. You're going to have to deny your flesh. Your flesh will do everything it can to talk you out of obedience if it thinks that it is going to be in any kind of situation that is uncomfortable, that is going to cause suffering, that is going to be painful, that is going to make it weak. And you have to acknowledge that, be aware of that, and be willing to say, nevertheless, even though I don't want to do it, God, your will is more important. So I'm going to deny myself. I'm going to crucify my flesh, and I'm going to follow you. And I encourage you today, if you feel like God is calling you to do something that you are scared to do, that you don't want to do, that you are fearful of, that the flesh is saying, no way, not happening, don't want to do it, just try praying one time. Lord, I don't want to do this, but nevertheless, thy will be done. And then listen for His voice. Feel the power of the Spirit, and then walk in that truth and see if it doesn't change things. Y'all pray for me, because I don't want to do this fast, but I do want to follow him. And I want to follow him more than I don't want to do this fast. So you pray for me through these next 3 days. I know it'll be challenging. I know it'll be tough, but sometimes you got to do the difficult and deny yourself and follow him. And tomorrow there might be a video coming about the blessings and the importance and why it's so important to fast. And that'll be one of the biggest struggles you probably have in following Jesus, is denying your stomach, but it's super important. So if you haven't done it, try it. Love you guys.